May Jesus be praised and onward with Mary. Have a good and holy day to all of you, dear children, in the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary, and in the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. Welcome back to our morning section, Saints and Coffee. Today is Friday, the 17th of January. The Church celebrates the liturgical feast of one of the great saints of all time, a timeless classic, the first Monaco of the desert, which, to tell the truth, as often happens in the history of the Church, wasn't at all the first. The first was St. Paul, a hermit, apparently. It could be that maybe there was someone else, unknown. Anyway, Anthony the Abbot, not to be confused with Anthony of Padua, he's the Egyptian saint who enters the church, and at this moment listens to the gospel, where Jesus says, "Go sell everything you have, give it to the poor, then come and follow me." And so he, who was an orphan with a sister, sells everything he has, and then leaves a share for his sister. He returns to the church and hears, "Don't worry, always the gospel for tomorrow." This is the Sermon on the Mount, which is truly, I'd say, programmatic for each of us, if we want to live it, the gospel, that of Jesus Christ. And so he even entrusts himself to his sister, to the sisters, the nuns, and goes to live in the desert of prayer and penance. Prayer and penance frightened the demons, that is, the demons, they were afraid of him, of St. Anthony the Abbot, who in order to work had to fight against the devil. So he's the first desert monk, and since the persecutions against Christians had ended, he sought white martyrdom, as it was called. That is, a form of martyrdom that's no longer about shedding blood, but about patiently leading a life. Evangelical until physical death, until God calls. This form of martyrdom is no less demanding if one chooses to live it. That is, renouncing the world, evil, sin, living always alert, embracing every day those who live by the rules of religious horror. Or in my case, for example, being a secular priest, living the commitments of baptism, and then the priestly promises. This is for each of us, those who are married, to live marriage every day, even with its difficulties, etc. St. Anthony Abbot speaks to us about the radical nature of the gospel, the need for every historical period to live the gospel, just as it is, as is said of St. Francis of Assisi. Yes, without gloss. Then this morning, as we announced, there was the blessing of the animals by Brother Celestino, because today is the feast of St. Anthony, who is the patron saint of animals. St. Anthony the Abbot, why? Because he had been led, it is said, to an Eden-like state, that is, to experience a relationship of friendship even with wild animals. This is a constant in the history of the Church. St. Jerome played with lions. Apparently, St. Seraphim of Sarov ably entertained himself with a bear. St. Francis of Assisi tamed a wolf. I sometimes tried to... Once with a Rottweiler on a lead, I walked away and said, "I still have some growing up to do." Today is Friday, and therefore I recommend the day of the Passion of the Lord. And so the small remainder lives by these two precious practices of abstaining from meat and its byproducts. In Hungary, it's not easy at all. It won't be easy at all, because everywhere here there's sausage and meat, because it's cold. It's really cold, I can tell you, look. It's cold, and I'm saying this as the one who feels the cold the most out of all of you. But this isn't the kind of cold we're used to. No, this is like Arctic, polar cold. I'd almost say it really is. The day starts with this strong, intense cold, and it lasts all day, and then at night it even goes below zero. And so they eat lots of meat to warm up. But today is Friday. It's the day of the Lord's Passion, so no meat, please, or its derivatives. We offer it to the Lord as we prepare ourselves. Then, as you know, to the Lenten journey. The other practice is the Stations of the Cross. Personal meditate on the Lord's Passion, and thus offer our sufferings as well. I did it yesterday with all the filth that happened. A depressing thing from a human perspective. To see how the enemies act, to see the filth they can perform, the dishonesty, the corruption, the wickedness, the hatred, the evil. I'll just quickly mention what it is, but we'll come back to it because it's today's topic. Yesterday, a colleague of mine, We kept everything, as our lawyers ask us to, stating by phone that we're recording, because we say, look, we're recording the call. So I'm not saying anything new. So I call someone at RAI from a well-known program. What's this program called? La Vita in Diretta. They wanted to invite me. So I told one of my secretaries down in Sicily to get in touch, making it clear that she would record the call. The RAI person who was dealing with this. And my colleague said, but it's not right that you write that it's written that Domina Nostra is against LGBT people, against gay people, because this isn't true. And she, a little resentful, says, but us at RAI, where did you read this? Where did you read that? Then we come to discover, as perhaps I'll now be able to show you, that in fact RAI News itself writes, and the Piedmontese bishops target Minutella, the former priest from Palermo, who goes against Pope Francis and against the LGBT world. That one must pass, the total dishonesty. Today, whoever is against Pope Francis is against LGBT people. But wasn't it Bergoglio who talked about queerness in the church? Or did I make that up? But Pope Francis, impunity, and instead Don Minutella, who speaks of gays with great love, which I've always cultivated, as I'll now show these wretches who come after me, because it's clearly a maneuver. The Piedmontese bishops are talking, and then again La Repubblica, La Stampa, Il Corriere della Sera, even Il Corriere della Sera, the TGR, and what national news? Well, my dear children, today, which is Friday, I offer everything for them. Lord, forgive them. Save their souls. The suffering is so great you want it, because in an instant you can intervene, and you don't. Do you want us to expose ourselves? I'm telling you a bit about my mystical dialogues. Sir, that's the real Don Minutella that you don't know. Nobody knows. Jesus, you want me to expose myself, and I do it with love. Keep me calm in my heart, even when I shout for the Catholic truth. Let my heart be free. Let me know how to forgive. Make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. You can intervene at any moment. If you don't, it's because it's meant to be. And why do you allow all of this for the glory of your name? But Lord, save their souls. This is why today, Friday, we must always remember Jesus on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So let us offer our prayer for all our enemies. May the Lord forgive them. They know they're acting wrongly against me. They know I'm not doing anything wrong. It's all made up. The corpus of slander against me. It's all a diabolical invention. There are these people left, right and center. I'm spoilt for choice. That I invite all of you to pray for them, that the Lord have mercy on them. So today, being Friday, we offer everything to Jesus. We forgive. Let us ask the Lord to forgive our enemies and pray intensely. Like St. Anthony the Great, whose feast day it is today, those dedicated to a life of prayer come to discover the struggles of prayer. However, there is always, even in the deepest dryness, an immense joy. When I celebrate Mass, I don't have special mystical gifts. Sometimes, yes, I must tell the truth, otherwise I'm a liar. But essentially, I experience Mass as an ordinary act. The joy you feel, however, in celebrating it, when it ends, you feel full of God, my children, dear ones. Be full of God, because these are hard times, dark times, heavy times. Here we go on air, like every morning. You'll see the service, the related movie, the two precious events that we'll have in Italy. The 2nd of February, Sunday the 2nd of February, Feast of Candlemas, bring with you the candles, at least 3, to keep them blessed and exorcised at home. In Milan at 3 p.m. At the NH Hotel Congress in Sesto at 3 p.m. Entry is completely free, and afterwards there's the appointment. The 11th of February, Our Lady of Lourdes will have this Day of the Sick with the anointing of the sick. I don't know if I say it in the movie, I think so. Verona's sick anointing. But at 6 p.m. because it's a work day. Instead, we are getting ready for the meeting the day after tomorrow in Cluj-Napoca in Romania. Would the director please broadcast the service in Romanian for the faithful of the little flock who are Romanian speakers? Praised be Jesus Christ. Important announcements for the community of Romania. Father Alessandro Maria Minutella and Brother Celestino will be present in Cluj-Napoca. Thank you. Sunday the 19th and 20th of January 2025, starting at 3 p.m. Romanian time and 2 p.m. Italian time, to meet the believers of Bucharest of Romania. To reserve information, please contact the number displayed after 5 p.m. by text message. Here we are. It'll be Sunday at 2 p.m. Italian time, 3 p.m. Romanian time, because there's a 1-hour time difference.
Eccoci qui, sarà domenica alle ore 14 ora italiana, ore 15 ora rumena, perché c'è un'ora di fuso orario.
So then last night, we announced that we were available here to welcome any faithful of the little remnant. And incredibly, someone actually arrived. A couple arrived. I jokingly called them Aquila and Priscilla. I told them that Paolo then at some point met this couple in the Acts of the Apostles and said that they came, they were here with us, they attended Brother Celestino's Mass. They told me that maybe someone saw the faithful woman, the wife, kneeling, and it's a very beautiful apostolate. I say that with a snap of the fingers. Wherever you go, as you see, there are faithful of the little remnant. It's something impressive. We've been to 2 cities now, Ljubljana in Slovenia and Budapest here in Hungary. The day after tomorrow we'll be in Romania. As you can see, there's a small remainder that's growing. Careful now, well, with divine dynamism. It's not Don Minutella. The enemies have to come to terms with it. This isn't the kind of work where if you destroy Don Minutella, you'll end up destroying the work. It's not like that. It's not like that, my dears. Even if you destroy Don Minutella, the work will not be destroyed. Dear enemies of Rai, of Republica, of the press, of the Piedmontese bishops, and then total silence. Shocking, deafening, the deafening silence of the pseudo-Catholic mainstream, from the New Daily Compass, from Aldo Maria Valli. No one mentions this blatant persecution. They don't mention it. Do you know why? I have my idea, my interpretation. They don't mention it because they feel it. They feel that this is the right path, and because they feel it, they feel reproached, and so they don't speak. Because if I were a bastard like Cascioli, how could I pretend to be a decent person? I couldn't keep quiet. I'm talking about Don Minutella, Professor Minutella. In Cascioli's place, I couldn't stay silent. He might even be my worst enemy, but, well, he's fighting the good fight. Father Minutella, with his brothers, is fighting the good fight. I must say he has been persecuted. The bishops have targeted him. That Rai, the Italian daily newspapers, for the umpteenth time, instead no, total silence. I say that the work isn't mine, it's God's and Our Lady's above all. So it's not by destroying Don Minutella. This is the acid test that you will destroy the work, because the work grows. Today we celebrated Mass with Father Celestino. With 2 faithful, 2 doesn't matter, there are 2, but maybe there's someone else who couldn't come to Slovenia. They were a small group, but everywhere, wherever you go, there are faithful of the small remnant who speak of us to Bergoglio and remain in the Catholic Apostolic Roman Church of always, the 2,000-year-old one that doesn't betray the gospel of Christ. It was very nice because this morning I went down to breakfast while we were having breakfast with some of my team, because the others were with Brother Celestino. The Hungarian chef approaches, speaking in English, and together with a girl, I don't know if she was his girlfriend, maybe, I don't know, a colleague, and they saw me, and yet I wasn't wearing any signs, but they understood I was a priest. There were the nuns, and so we talked, and they said that she is very capable, very Catholic. We gave her the miraculous medal, and she gave me this one here. Look, I don't know if I can show it to you. I'll try. There, can you see it? Here it is. This is the flame of love because it's from Budapest, and the flame of love, so Our Lady. I feel that these things are important to me, but even the saints were simple. Saint Therese. They always knew how to grasp God's messages. And so I'm telling you the beautiful things. It seemed very beautiful to me that this little medal of the flame of love arrived for me. For I am very devoted. And then the twist is that when this couple who attended the Mass for the little Hungarian remnant left, they were leaving, and they gave me a gift. A picture of Our Lady, and then guess what? Listen, today's our last day in Hungary. We thought we'd take a trip, and I'd mentioned Cardinal Mindszenty, whom I hope many of you know. He's also featured in the opening credits of Saints and Coffee. And this lady gives us this little picture card of Cardinal Mindszenty, so he came to visit us. These are signs, steps that encourage and allow us to move forward amidst all the squalor of the situation in Italy. Please, my dear children, support the project because economic decapitation is also what they have tried to aim for in the past. You're worth less than that. For the small remainder, you have clear ideas and understand that it's necessary to help us carry this project forward. It's in the description, the IBAN and the postal account number. I'd ask the director and my team to stop writing new. People get confused. They get confused, in my opinion. So this is the postal account that's easiest to make the payment into. Then there's PayPal, which I don't know what it is. Makes me think of tennis. I don't know what it is. But please help the project, because there's always a great need. Today and Friday, the day of the Passion of Abstinence from meat, prayer for our enemies, the pious exercise of the Way of the Cross, but also Pioneers' Day of the Rosary. But since we're in the Novena for Russia last night, thank you for being there. I was told there were so many of you, and this really encouraged me, because it's what we must do together, pray. We were just saying that with this Hungarian couple. So, thank you for your presence at this novena. We'll repeat it tonight and tomorrow night, that is tonight, with the Pioneers of the Rosary and the family who will call, I believe, from Puglia. We'll pray, Pioneers of the Rosary and families, with the fourth day of the novena for Russia. Connect everyone at 9 p.m. on the Radio Domina Nostra YouTube channel, where I invite you to subscribe. That's the post. Share it. Now the director is showing it again. Share it. Share it. Always give it a like. They're really important for keeping things going. This morning, Brother Celestino, so I introduce myself in today's window. The title, as you've seen, is In a Moment It Will Appear. The title of this morning's reflection in light of what happened yesterday. With, I remind you, the declaration, the explanatory note of the Piedmontese and Valdostan Episcopal Conference, in which they distanced themselves from Mr. Minutella and from Don Follador with a series of inaccuracies that always characterize these documents, which probably, God willing, makes them formally invalid, if nothing else. Pietro Follador isn't Don Follador, if anything, he's Friar Follador, because he's not a priest, he's a friar. Anyway, in which it was said that having this note, we took a house in Sevigliano, 2 small rooms. These people are all worried, they warn the faithful, saying that we go against doctrine. Nothing more foolish, more squalid, more sordid than what they've written. In fact, yesterday I seriously invited the new rampant cardinal, the rampant Cardinal Rapole, to a debate. Since they are the church of everyone, that welcomes everyone, meaning everyone, we are there too. So, Cardinal Rapole makes another appeal. Join me? Welcome me on the 31st of January. I'll be in Turin for the feast of Don Bosco. With the small remainder, I'll bring the relic that Father Pavel gave me, a bone fragment, and I'll say Mass. So invite me, and we can discuss it. We need to understand why we are against the doctrine. Why write to warn the faithful against us when you didn't with Pachamama and trust? We must see if this is faith or reason. Got it? One of us is an idiot. There's no doubt about it, either me or you. But what's more interesting is that in this complex Italian and global situation, the Italian newspapers, starting with La Stampa, and then La Repubblica, and then Corriere della Sera, and finally Rai, with specific reports on Rai News, and then with the Piemonte and Sicily regional news. They felt the need to give Italy a warning. I'm talking about Italy, like in the manner of a saint, to warn Italy. Mr. Minutella, they'll want to start to stitch together, as it seems, an adventure in the style of Gisella, Cardinale, and Vignano. Look, you won't succeed. Look, you won't succeed. You haven't succeeded in the past. You won't succeed this time either. And be careful where you step. You'll get bogged down like Hitler and Rapole in Russia. All right, I'm telling you. Then do as you please. There was General Winter there. Here there's General Maria. Be careful. Be on your guard. Cave Minutella. 𝐴𝐸MIN, Mr. Freemason, Messrs. Freemasons, 𝐴𝐸MINUTELLA, be careful. Isn't your project of spreading slander against Don Minutella working? Because there are so many people who have opened their eyes, and thousands of faithful are on our side. For the most part, you are dishonest. I said it yesterday, you've proven it. I'd ask the director to make it a little bigger, please. The writing, that's perfect, about the LGBT plus world, about our gay brothers and sisters, and about the dishonesty of the media. First premise. I told you what happened yesterday, and I made a post last night while taking a walk just before dinner. But I kind of regretted it because it's really cold. I couldn't feel my ears anymore. Fifth time here in Budapest, one of the world's most beautiful cities. When I come here, I'm always happy to stay because I really like this city, situated on the Danube with its extraordinary history. Before dinner, I went for a bundled-up walk and made a post. I'd ask the director if 𝐷𝐸MIN sends it to them to show this post, which I'd like to read to you. It's an important post because it summarizes the things we're saying. Here it is. Let me check down here. In this post, here it is. I say solve the riddle. I ask for my friends. Repubblica, La Stampa. Can someone who is Pope, if he's Pope, change the gospel? Make changes against the Word of God. Solve the riddle in parentheses, but study theology without trusting the Piedmontese bishops. Meanwhile, I, with my 2 doctorates in theology, by the way, I apologize, I'm enjoying myself. Budapest rules Hungary. So this is to tell you that there's also a lot of water that slides off, my dear children. And because with these people it's better to move on. Let's move on, if I talk about it. It's only to warn the weakest, otherwise they could be fried. Be careful not to start a smear campaign against me, like they did last year against Evigliano, because it won't work for them. I'm not the one who sees the Madonna, my dear journalists. Your plan won't work. I hold 2 doctorates in theology. I'm an expert in canon law and dogmatic theology, and I'm ready to discuss matters with you on the basis of short-term agreements, by prior arrangement. I'm not here to give interviews because then you jump on me like ravenous hyenas, like starving lions. I've come for a round-table discussion to talk about serious things like the St. Gallen Mafia, of the non-resignation of Benedict XVI, of a deepening of the declaration of the 11th of February 2013 of the false conclave of Bergoglio, and then gradually all of Bergoglio's doctrinal initiatives that go against the gospel and therefore cannot be accepted. If you're talking about this seriously, but you're not serious at RAI, not all of RAI, but RAI is something else. I'm talking about these people who are targeting me. I'm not talking about the company as such, because I believe that, as happens in every company, in every large organization, there are those on one side and those on the other. I don't think there's just one faction. I'm not talking of those who are jumping on me again, of those of you who are incompetent and whom history will brand as ignorant. First study theology, and then come and talk to me, with the undersigned, understand? And what I'm saying then is, and this was the first introduction, that yesterday my colleague in Palermo called the RAI Secretariat because RAI 1 invited me to, what's the program called? Life. To go there, I don't know if it was to go there. So my colleague informed the woman, the RAI secretary, that we record all phone calls. She told her, look, we're on the line. We're recording based on previous experiences at the request of our lawyers. At one point, my colleague said, but it's not fair that you say Don Minutella has it in for the LGBT world. This is an attempt to against the powerful gay lobby like an enemy. But Don Minutella has often extended a hand to people, gay people. The fact that he doesn't approve of imploring trust, the inclusion of gay couples, doesn't mean that he has it in for gay people. Do you remember that was something I said? These are so ravenous. They're so wild. The Bergoglians and their establishment made people think if you won't bless remarried couples, you're against cohabitation. if you don't bless gay pairs, you hate gays. That if you don't welcome migrants at the port, you're inhuman. See what the plan is? It's always the same. And the woman even got offended. But we at RAI didn't do this. This and that, on the other hand, they did. Because I'm asking my team to show, right now live, the dishonest, disinformation-filled, regime-like statement from RAI News. And I'll prove it now that it is so. Because it's not like I'm making it up. I don't make programs like they do. I don't know if the contribution is ready. I hope so. Because we have so many things to talk about. Let's see. Is it ready? So, but it's not this one. Here it is, here it is. This one, I'll show you. Here it is, here it is. Unfortunately, as you can understand, we worked in extreme conditions, I'd almost say, referring to the bridge opening. But that's not even it. Anyway, RAI News did a report. I'll ask someone on my Telegram, one of those who collaborate with me down in Sicily, to see if they can find it, because then I can show it. RAI News made this statement about Don Minutella, because yesterday they made so many, so in the end I can't keep track of which one is the real one, unfortunately. The real one, I mean finding it, in which it says Don Minutella, Anzi, the Mr. Minutella, who is the one against the LGBTs. And that's not true. And that's not true. And so the opposite is true. That is, the RAI is telling lies. The RAI are lying, that is, they're saying that I'm against the world. LGBT, that's not true at all. Unfortunately, they're making up something that's false. Meanwhile, this morning Brother Celestino celebrated Mass. This report on Brother Celestino's passing is ready. This isn't ready either. I'm ending up worse than Emilio Fede today. Let's instead look at the contributions that I've made from time to time over these years. Let's see. We see them from time to time. Maybe they'll send me the RAI contribution, but this is the TGR where they say that I, the world, LGBT, I'm the crusader against the world. LGBT, all false. But now we'll prove it. Let's start with the first piece of evidence. I ask that the clips be aired starting from the past up to the present day, so of those that we have available. From the last one chronologically to come to today. Let's begin. Since the toxic cloud of the new Chernobyl that's approaching Rome, I'd like to make an appeal. I'd like to make an appeal, especially to my dearest homosexual brothers, to my beloved lesbian sisters, and to all those who march under the rainbow flag of LGBTQ. An appeal. Precious, and I'm sure it'll reach someone. Don't trust it, my dear homosexual brothers. Don't trust this sulfurous inclusivist propaganda put forward by the false church. Because my children, dear ones, my dear homosexual brothers, sin is sin. The church has always welcomed these. There you go, my dears. You've just heard the opening of the Santia Cafe broadcast from the 29th of August, 2023, 18 months ago. And as you can see, it was the period in which the possibility of blessing gay couples was being discussed. It seems to me there's a rant against the world, LGBT on Manila's side. So they're dishonest at RAI, Allora they're corrupt at RAI. Illegal arguments are invalid. To say that I go against the LGBT world means choosing to be dishonest. It's proven. Did you hear with how much pastoral care I addressed the issue? Dominutella, on the 29th of August, addressed the dear gay brothers, the dear lesbian sisters. And at the same time, however, I warned against the attempt, and let's say, sulfurous, I call it that, life of Bergoglio and Fernandez as it comes. Remember? Soon we'll show Fernandez hugging a trans person wearing a stole that reads "Life as it comes." I wanted to try, and I will continue to do so as long as I have the strength. I wanted to try to tell my gay brothers that this fact that Bergoglio, who is not the Pope, and I remind you of this, Bergoglio is not the Pope. According to church law, he's an outlaw. Bergoglio usurper. According to church law, the throne of Peter. Against canon law, Bergoglio, because he's not the Pope, and this blessing to gay couples is against God's plan. So I really want to say exactly that. The fact that I, as a priest, as a minister of God of the Catholic Church, and according to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, must be able to say that sin, that carnal union between people of the same sex, is a sin. Doesn't mean I hate gay people. Here are more contributions to show. Now being shown is the one from the 29th of September 2023. Yes, closeness, yes. We all do it. I'm one of those close to the gay community. My conscience knows it, and so do the gay and lesbian people I welcomed abundantly in my past life as a parish priest. Before Pope Francis, who absolved Rupnik, mi togliesse l'abito. So here, as you can hear, I'm bringing a real piece of evidence. I'm ready to welcome the testimonies of dear gay brothers and even some lesbians who would be willing to come forward and say that it's not true that I was involved with the gay community. That, on the contrary, as a parish priest, and many parishioners knew it because they were upset. Because of my pastoral openness, I very much welcomed, rather discreetly, these gay people, discussing with them sensitive issues of our time. So it's not true. As you've heard, this was the broadcast of the 29th of September 2023, of course. I'm producing these videos and putting them into a series, sending them to my lawyer to file a complaint against those who are defaming me. No one should dare slander me by saying that I target the world. You wretches, traitors to your journalistic profession and your conscience. Before moving on to the next item, the image is finally ready. I really want you to see the image of the Ray News article, because here you need to understand that I'm not making anything up. You can actually see it in the photo. If you screenshot it, you'll see it in a moment. You can actually see a photograph of me. So it's not true that Rai, or whoever it is for Mama Rai, I repeat, I don't have it in for the company. Because actually I'm talking about those who are pursuing this initiative against me. And I don't know why they're doing it. Or maybe I do and I'm just pretending not to, but I mean it's not right. Because in fact, this Rai News article came out yesterday, in which it's clearly seen that they're attacking me head on, they're targeting me, because they say I have it in for the LGBT world, and I'm proving, which isn't the case. I'm asking you to show the screenshot of the report that Rai broadcast, not the article, the screenshot, where you can actually see the report that was aired yesterday on Rai News. Here it is. Now you can see it well. You see that it's there, please, director. If possible, zoom in patiently. I'm asking for a little patient collaboration. Today, however, you see Rai News, 2 ex-priests. Already this is the first outrage, because Brother Celestino isn't an ex-priest. He's still a priest to all intents and purposes, and naturally he always will be. But in any case, he hasn't been reduced to the lay state. So this is already the first wretched lie. 2 ex-priests, 1 excommunicated and 1 suspended, continue to provide services. Clergy, and then, if you go and read it, the whole issue concerning me and my propaganda against the world appears. LGBT, etc., which, as you know, isn't true. But let's move on with the contributions. Let's move on with the contributions now. And after having seen the one from the 29th of August 2023, and the one from the 29th of September 2023, Let's look at the third one, the one from the 29th of May 2024, says Mancuso. I'm disappointed by what happened. What a decline, what a decline, what a decline. The Pope will now have to apologize. The news, however, has gone around the world, which the various, several, and main global training sites don't use in the title the term in question, because frotio is typically Roman. It's not well understood. Whether it refers to the nostrils of the Swiss guards, it's not well understood. There are various interpretations on the origin of the word frotio. It's a typically Roman word. That's derogatory to refer to a gay person, and you don't use that word. I don't know if there is. Crime, I don't know. We should see if it's not a word that should be considered a crime. He's under investigation for defamation against gay people. There, you heard it. This is the broadcast that aired on the 29th of May 2024, on the occasion of the incredible declaration of their rainbow pontiff. Pope Francis, pro-LGBT, gay-friendly, who says there's too much gayness in the church. Do you want to trust him? Well, go ahead. I'd like to know if it's possible to say there's a gay lobby that's something other than the homosexual world. Look, it is like that. Not all homosexuals identify with this direction. Let's say that the agenda that the LGBT world is pushing forward is bothersome, and their dominance is bothersome. Because it is bothersome. Because it says that Bergoglio isn't the Pope, and since Bergoglio is their Pope, you see this dominance mustn't be allowed, so it's dominance. He has it in for the LGBT community. But we've shown that this isn't true. That meanwhile, from social media, they've removed the photo of Fernandez hugging the Argentinian transsexual with the stole, Life as It Comes. But since I foresaw this, I asked my team to save it. And now, even though they've removed it from social media, we're showing it again. There it is, that emblematic photo of it all, the embrace of death. The embrace of death. See? He hugs a transsexual, he doesn't invite him to redeem himself. How's life treating you? These are Satan's partisans. Back to me. Right, to clarify, I wanted to tell you, because I've been asked to, that the RAI article says exactly that Don Minutella, Mr. Minutella, lashes out against Pope Francis. I'll read you the text exactly, because otherwise here. Then it ends up that, so it says this. Speaking of a church without a guide, more rainbow than Catholic, with reference to the Pope's openness towards the LGBT community. Openness. My dear RAI journalists, you should be competent in theology. Otherwise, don't refer to Bergoglio and Fernandez, who don't understand anything about theology. Clearly, because the gospel, the word of God, the catechism, and the Catholic Church, Catholic tradition condemns openness to the LGBT world in terms of licensing sin. Welcoming them is another matter, but don't be clever about this. Pope Francis, as you call him, didn't invent it. John Paul II already did it, and so did Benedict XVI. Go and read the Catechism in the Catholic Church. Then some other body, this Open, which is called Open, I'll show you now, can do worse. This project needs approval in Italy now. Work's begun. There it is. Open, the two excommunicated priests who continue to say Mass in Piedmont. They talk to the Madonna. They're against it, you see, the dishonest generalization. See you in court. They talk to Our Lady. They're against Bergoglio and LGBT openness. So the attempt is what? To pass Don Minutella off as a priest who's got it in for the gay world, and I'm proving it. And these services and these contributions are being collected and sent to my lawyers to prove that it's an unjustified attack, because I'm not against the community at all. LGBT, I'm a Catholic priest who says it isn't possible to bless a gay union. It's something else. To say that you can't bless a gay union. Pope Francis's opening stance goes against the gospel. It's not like we're against the world. You wretched lot, you won't succeed with me, I'm telling you, because prepare yourselves for single combat. Because just like David, who only had 5 river stones, and Goliath, on the other hand, had the sword, the helmet, and the armor, you risk falling to the ground headless. I'm telling you, then do as you please. Let's see the other contribution. I told you it's not a threat. On the contrary, it's a desist order. If you thought to start a smear campaign against me, like you did last year against... Look, you won't succeed. Be careful. I told you. Let's see the next contribution, the most recent ones. This one is even from the 3rd of December last, 2024. This is to say that there's a continuum in the undersigned with which I reiterate the criteria. The pastoral aspect of welcoming, the love, the merciful affection towards the homosexual world is one thing. Blessing gay couples in defiance of the gospel is something else entirely that will never ever happen, because that is the work of Satan. Blessing gay couples is not permitted. It's not permitted. A pope cannot go against the gospel. Next report. Nothing personal, absolutely great respect, affection, and brotherly love towards our gay brothers, our lesbian sisters, and the whole world. LGBT, hoping they convert like us, all of us, we all must convert, that's for sure. So as it seems to me, you see how they've set this up, a sort of media scam, trying to make Italian public opinion believe, but they're not succeeding. Domina Nostra as an anti-LGBT crusader, as someone who wants to kill homosexuals, who hates gay people, thank God. These contributions are being collected by my lawyers, and I myself will file a complaint. I'll pay money because a lot of money is paid and I won't get anything because they are powerful. But I filed a complaint, and one day it'll go down in history because they're defaming me. I'm not at all against the LGBT world. I repeat, another thing is that I will never accept the blessing. Supplications, because it goes against the Word of God, the apostolic tradition, the catechism, the Catholic Church, and therefore, ultimately, against the will of God. Two people of the same sex will never be able to receive the Lord's blessing when they unite, unless they live as brothers or sisters. Then it's something else. But to go from this theological, doctrinal, catechetical, biblical, magisterial, to the media scam of the anti-LGBT Minutella is an act of absolute dishonesty that speaks volumes about the degree of legitimacy of information in Italy. Did you see this report? The second to last one was from the 13th of December 2024. So, fairly recent, regarding inclusive nativity scenes where Minutella denounces these trends. Some TV channels and programs do it too, which I don't know why they ignore me. At this point, it's up to them, like Rete 4, because there was the director of this program who was challenging the choices of these inclusive nativity scenes with 2 dads and 2 mums. I don't understand why Minutella has to be there, why no one defends him. This is another interesting thing about Italy. No one defends Don Minutella in Italy. He's targeted, crucified, dies, rises again, and then crucified again, and then dies again, rises again, and everyone's just watching. Let's see the latest, very recent contribution from this month. Here today is the 17th. This is from the 9th of January 2025. So very recent, it lasts very little. However, it speaks volumes. The emblematic image of Fernandez, when he was Archbishop in Argentina, having his picture taken with the poor trans person with the stole where it's written, "Life as it comes," is the Mephistophelian, Luciferian embrace of this false church to these poor brothers, to these beloved. Nobody touches our gay brothers. Nobody touches our lesbian sisters. Woe to you. As for the rest, if you judge them, leave judgment to God. But we will stand up and say that God doesn't want this. Enough. Do as you please, gay brother. Lesbian sister, I embrace you in the Lord, but I cannot bless your carnal union because it is a sin. So is it a scam or not, this Rai thing? Scam or not? It's intellectual and informational dishonesty. Or am I wrong? Did you hear that last contribution? This will be the first thing I put in the dossier that I'll send to Sue Rai News. And then they get all offended when my colleague says, but you say it's against us. We didn't write this. We didn't. Rai News wrote it. Unless then, every channel, I'm not an expert. Every program doesn't have its own format, even legal. How should I know? Did you hear that last comment? I ask you for the patience to listen to it again. Not you of the small remainder, because thank God, you know each other and you know it. But to show that the attempt to pass Minutella off as an anti-LGBT crusader is an act of pure dishonesty. Shows their dishonesty, not only of the Berlusconian establishment, but of the Masonic power that with the information ganglia of Rai and I don't know what, they're trying to delegitimize me again. And this contrafactum, let's listen again, because if there are emissaries who come to listen to Santi Cafe and then report, let them bring this, and let them stop it, let them apologize. They say Minutella has it in for Pope Francis, which isn't even true. But don't write that I have it in for the world. LGBT, why do you commit a dishonest act and people open their eyes because I'm there to prove it? Again, please, the last contribution. The emblematic image of Fernandez when he was Archbishop in Argentina, having his picture taken with the poor trans person, with the stole that says, life as it comes, and the Mephistophelian Luciferian embrace of this false church to these poor brothers. To these beloved, no one touches our gay brothers, no one touches our lesbian sisters, Domi, Minutella, and with friends and gay brothers. Woe to you of the small remnant. If you judge them, leave judgment to God. But we will stand up and say that God does not want this. Enough. Do as you see fit. Gay brother, lesbian sister, I embrace you in the Lord, but I cannot bless your carnal union because it is a sin. Right? I think that's all clear. Now, see who's behind me? Tell it to RI, to La Repubblica, to Corriere della Sera, to La Stampa. Not as entities in themselves, but those who are concocting this attempt at a media pillory and defamatory trial against me. Be careful, because when you write, between the jocular and the ironic and the mocking, that I speak with Our Lady, I don't speak with Our Lady, but I tell you, be careful, because I address you. An appeal from Our Lady. All right. Be careful where you step, because it might not always turn out well for you. I'm telling you, then do as you please. Is that a threat? No, it's not a threat. It's a suggestion. Meanwhile, I'll file my complaint because you've written false things, clearly false things, as I've been able to demonstrate today. And then ultimately referring to Piedmontese bishops like Ripoll, who's a yes man from Bergoglio's early days. So much so that he orchestrated that delegitimizing maneuver against Pope Benedict XVI when he published the theology of Pope Francis, with contributions from Peter Hünermann, who's a historical opponent of Ratzinger, then asking Ratzinger to write the preface as well. Ratzinger obviously backed out. This is Ripoll, a poor little altar boy, a Bersagliere for Bergoglio. The theology of humility, which is nothing but a theology, who bows like the football players did on the pitch in front of the rainbow dictatorship. And then I recommend to you also the other bishop of the Piedmontese Episcopal Conference, the even better one, Olivero Di Pietro, the bishop of openness, the bishop who proposes the blessing of gay couples ahead of time, who lets theologians speak at diocesan meetings. Theologians who say that Joseph, the Madonna, and then the centurion with his servant, it's utterly disgusting. Look, these people practice an immodest theology. Really, there's a sort of mental concupiscence.
Yeah.
I'd call it theological lust. That's what we find, lust, theological. Satan's there, the devil is there, because it's the devil who wants to conquer. I think I've made things quite clear today. Let's see how things go in the next few days. Let's see if, after yesterday's fire, the blaze, diciamo così, things calm down. If they don't calm down, well, if it's war, fine, we're ready to fight it. However it goes, we'll win because they have power, earthly power, the power they wield. But we have a power that has always triumphed in history as our teacher. It's the power of a free conscience. It's the power of inner freedom. It's the sovereign power of the truth of the gospel. Now we listen to the contribution of Brother Celestino.
Due telegiornali locali, quelli del Piemonte e quello della Sicilia, niente di nuovo sotto il sole. Il dogma della massoneria italiana è questa: zio Ciccio non si deve toccare. Puoi portare tutte le ragioni che vuoi, scrivere.
Sorry, the audio wasn't heard at the beginning. We'll play it again from the start because the audio wasn't there at the beginning. We apologize for these technical problems, but it's a blessing to be able to do all this. Two local news programs, the ones from Piedmont and Sicily. Nothing new under the sun. The dogma of Italian Freemasonry is this: Uncle Ciccio is untouchable. You can bring all the reasons you want, write books. No, Uncle Ciccio is the new God. In other times, the priests against the Pope, who isn't the Pope, the newspapers either wouldn't have thought of them or maybe they would have even praised them. But not with Uncle Frankie. He's untouchable. He's the new Messiah. I'd like to point out to the journalists that at Casa Betania, it wasn't just Father Alessandro and I who celebrated. Furthermore, the journalists would do well to mention that there are 6 priests and many supporters. It's not just us two. That's why it's even more urgent that priests come out and shout the truth in every square. There are many more of us than you want people to believe. There are bishops, not from Piedmont, who send us their blessing. Dearest Masons, we have been promised victory. Think carefully. These services backfire. And tell the whole truth. But we'll come back to this topic again, another time. And now something about St. Anthony the Abbot. When Brother Celestino's statement is true, the god Ciccio is not to be touched, but it is a fact. If I have time, I will do this. I'd like to show some press articles. The Turin one, with interviews during Benedict XVI's time with Hans Küng, to name one, with Vito Mancuso. These exponents of liberal theology, of modernist theology, who use joyful words against Pope Benedict and the enthusiasm. Now, it's become an altar boys newspaper. It's become the incredible future, the Roman Observer, because everything is at the service of that man there who sits on Peter's throne. And we, priests of the sodality, are the only ones who openly cry out the truth. I too appeal to my fellow priests, but do you see what we're going through? And why don't you? And why don't you? Do you do it secretly? My God, did he only send you to your own sheep? Join us. Why don't you join us? I made an appeal that was snatched away from us. I was the first one. I did it in Lugano last year, a confederation. Don't you want to join the partnership because you don't like me? Think I rule you? I don't own all pain. Me. I mean, I'm not out in front of all of you taking all the flack. So if I take it and I survive, wouldn't it be useful to say then that he truly is the one sent from heaven to lead the Catholic resistance? Keep making your own oases. You don't have God's blessing. Trust me if you want to believe me. You must join us. And if you don't want to join the fellowship, at least give us a helping hand. Give us a helping hand. Holy peace, shout the truth from the rooftops. Tell everyone that Bergoglio isn't the Pope, that this is Satan's church, that like this one goes to hell, that there is a final attack by Freemasonry, the Black Panther, in front of which the red beast, the red dragon, is nothing. That we're living the third secret of Fatima, that these are now the true enemies, camouflaged, spotted, hidden, introduced in Rome, and now there's the Masonic Satanist lobby that wants to prevent at all costs the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Dear brothers, priests, save your souls, because it will not be your bank account, nor the 8 per thousand, nor the title of parish priest, monsignor, teacher, canon, lawyer, and so on, it will save you. Do you really think this is the time to enlist with us? Because as you can see, Dominatella, in the total silence of the pseudo-Catholic mainstream, as I was saying at the beginning, I find it outrageous. This, even worse than the Bourgoins, they pretend nothing's happening, as if all this didn't exist. Shame on them. Shame on them. When it comes to Dominatella, they can even kill him. Maria, La Nuova Bussola Quotidiana, won't report it. What a disgrace, what an outrage this is. Why? Because since for them, Pope Francis is the Pope and he's untouchable, you understand? Dominutella's a bother. But it's Dominutella who gets them, not the new Daily Compass. Got it? It's Rai watching Dominutella, not Professor Cascioli. How come? Why don't they target Professor De Mattei and Corrispondenza Romana? Why don't they target this whole constellation, this archipelago of pseudo-Catholic realities that they do with Stockholm Syndrome? Ouch, 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 how mean you are, but I can't do without you. You make me spin. You make me spin like I'm a doll. That's how they sing, isn't it? Then you put me down, then you put me up, and so on and so forth. Of these pseudo-Catholics, these unacum, there's nothing more pathetic and infamous than the unacum. Because if Bergoglio God Franchi, as Brother Celestino calls him, has absolute power, it comes from the devil by divine permission, because the Apocalypse says so clearly. But be careful, all those who attend Mass in communion with him, they ring a very serious register before their own consciences and then above all before the tribunal of God. Good. Now let's answer a couple of phone calls. Let's see a bit these phone calls. You can intervene on this or other topics. I recommend you stick to the topic if possible. Meanwhile, I remind you that this evening at 9 o'clock, there's prayer with the pioneers of the Rosary and the family. A family will participate. This time it's the second time we've done this. Last week, we did it with a family from Veneto, from Belluno, today from Puglia. Could it be that this year, Del Rosario, this intervention on the family, this prayer on Russia, is creating more than a little apprehension? Perhaps, yes, perhaps. And so, evidently, all of this makes us understand that we must resist. Pray many rosaries and let ourselves be guided always by Our Lady on the path that she herself has laid out for us. Well, the phone is totally frozen, so for today, perhaps that's enough. Because, seeing as we've gone on quite a bit longer than expected, I wish you a day full of peace and joy. With the rosary in hand, let us face the day that the Lord gives us. You are all in my heart, all of you, always. Every day I present you to the Lord in the chalice. Remember to help the project because there is a great need. Tomorrow, the 18th of January, is the anniversary of the first Mass celebrated at Little Tabor by Father Enrico in Trebasilega. May Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Onwards with Mary.